Yeah, Mac and Mac here on Birds 365, and as John McMullen correctly told you, in the luxurious vehicle he drives, Bob Grotz joined us before he hits the road here on Birds 365. Where are you off to, Grotz?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been here since last Thursday when John was supposed to have me on the 920 show last Thursday.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
we miscommunicated.
I wanted to stay ready. He said you could do it next Thursday, so here I am. Let's do it, baby.
You look like you showered, though, so you had to leave the car at some point.
Going down to practice. Are you going down to practice? Are you stopping?
And I just stepped outside and lathered up a little bit.
Very good.
Big day. Brandon Graham, as I said, pretty much stopped the Sirianni subterfuge this week. The Eagles are getting a lot of players back. How excited are you to get Nick Morrow, Zach Cunningham, potentially Avonte Maddox back for a Matt Patricia defense, Bob Grotz?
And they got to be better than last week. And I thought Van Sumeren was all right, but I also believe
Shaq Leonard was all right. What are you talking about?
I got overestimated. He guessed right on one play and he made a big play. He guessed wrong on the next play and it was a big gain. I mean, he did do one thing right. Get the crowd into it.
Yes, he did get the crowd into it. Got a lot of juice. Yeah.
But he's the guy. He was basically on the streets, right? I mean,
not really.
Well,
yeah,
he was on the street from an NFL perspective, not from his life perspective.
Yeah, he could have helped the Colts. He would still be there. Now, he's helped them a little bit, but he also made mistakes, and that whole team. You watch the replay of the Eagles game. That the whole Eagles team was one mistake after the other, and I almost forgot about Hurts at the 2-yard line instead of going out of bounds.
Yeah, well, that was a bad mistake.
That was not good.
That reminded me a little bit of Kyler Murray last year when the Eagles.
Yes.
And he had that brain fart. He needed 10. He went down. There was nobody there. He went down at 9, and he had to burn his third down with a spike so they could try. Otherwise, he would have had 3 shots at the end zone. So, but and I don't buy this. There's like a narrative out there that this is the NFL today. I don't buy that. There's other teams that don't make these kind of mistakes. So they got to get their stuff together in a hurry.
I will disagree with you both on quote unquote on the street. You know who was on the street this year? Zach Cunningham for like 4 months on the street. Leonard got released, and he could have signed the next day if he wanted to. Either the Cowboys and Eagles would have signed him. So if you're on the street for 1 day as compared to 4 months, who is more on the street, Shaq Leonard or Zach Cunningham?
On the street is on the street. Hey,
it's just an NFL term. You're a street free agent.
By the way, about to be on the street is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Because had a no trade clause. No one.
Well, that'll be March. Yeah, but off season also, Jody's different than in season. A lot of veteran guys wait on purpose because they don't want to go through all the nonsense of the off season.
As soon as I heard that, I went back to all the Carson Wentz nonsense, and I thought about how they bit the bullet on what was it, a record $30 million in dead money, John?
Dead cap money.
Yeah.
It's going to be 90.
It was astronomical at the time. It was like unthinkable. I remember Andrew Branton was on the show. He said, "There's no way they're doing that," and I agreed with Andrew because nobody had done it. Nobody had ever done it before, and the Eagles pulled the trigger. Now everybody's, oh yeah, we'll
just move on.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Yeah.
They were talking about $91 million.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how it's exploded. That's Walmart money right there, baby.
Yeah, that's
Denver. Yeah.
Oh man.
And oh, by the way, and I did see this last night. The team that signs him, there is layover language for his contract with Denver. Anything he makes with his new team, Denver doesn't have to pay. Whoever he signs with, he will sign for the veteran minimum because he's not getting any more money. He's going to it's going to max out at what Denver owes him. So the veteran minimum is what he's going to sign for. So there's going to be a team that's going to sign him. I guarantee you get Russell Wilson for veteran minimum money. Of course you're going to do that.
Yeah. No,
there's a lot of bad quarterbacks. A lot of, well, how many quarterbacks have started? We're at like 58 There have been 58 different
It's
starting
not double
quarterbacks.
yet. It's not 64.
I do not think it's
Oh.
I'll give
64.
John
Less than-
for last week, the Giants game.
yeah.
That Tommy DeVito. Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, that was tough. That was.
Ah,
I said
I-
I don't know how Dayball can look at Saquon Barkley and Dexter Lawrence and all their good players and say, all right. Now it's understandable. I said when Taylor was hurt, yeah, he had to play. Then there's no issue. But when Taylor got healthy, I don't know how he sold that to the locker room. I really don't.
insulting. Yeah, it really is. I mean, because there's guys that like Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, hey, good player, man. Dexter Lawrence.
He's a really good player.
Uh,
And you're asking those guys to go out there and and Dexter, by the way, was hurt in that game. He had a hamstring. He barely practiced. And you're saying go out there and put your body on the line. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't know how coaches do that.
it's still hard for me to fathom like the points that the Eagles gave up and the way they gave them up too. The pick six, the deep ball.
There could have been more.
Yeah.
If Darren Waller was going for a touchdown, if Hassan Reddick didn't put pressure on Taylor, I mean, there was nobody. If he had time to get the ball where he needed to get the ball, so there's still some issues
There could have
on
been
that
another
defense.
pick six too. Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah,
I mean, dropped that ball. Like he looked like one of us. Trying to catch. Here, get. I mean, he was. There was no way he could get caught. So, yeah, I mean, and all that said, they won. How about that on the last play?
They did hold on and win. All right. You mentioned the fact that Waller could have made a big play. Let's be honest, and there's been guys in and out of the lineup, injuries and everything else. Doesn't matter who's been on the field. Eagles have had some issues covering tight ends all year. And I think McBride is their best option in their passing game. That's why Zach Ertz, talking about a street free agent, Zach's still out on the street. Thought he's going to come here. Wrong. Thought he's going to go to Baltimore. They like the kid likely, filling in for wrong. He hadn't gotten a gig, hadn't gotten a job. And McBride is the one who pushed him out of Arizona. Who are they going to have cover him this weekend, Bob Grotz?
Well, it doesn't, the Eagles, they're the back end of their defense, Jody. It's not just the tight end. Who are they going to have covering them? They can't cover anybody. I mean, look at them. I mean, and it's been that way for the last month. I mean, and a lot of people criticize the pass rush. They're not getting there. Well, they're throwing it in 2 seconds. It's 1-2, bang, it's out. Because that
was DeVito, but Taylor hung on to the football and he was trying to make plays.
It's because they can't cover. They can't even give you that 2 seconds to get to that extra second to get to the quarterback. So, and that's a huge problem. I was looking at teams that they might play in the playoffs, and I'm thinking, do they match up with them? Do they match up with the Lions? Say they play them in the playoffs.
Better be here.
They better
be at Lincoln Financial Field.
They better score some points. They got to win a shootout, man. They got to win a shootout.
The Lions can't stop anybody, but they can run the ball and they get turnovers. And I mean, the Eagles, their formula right now is a little bit the Cowboys. Even the Cowboys here is going to be a tough game. Even the 49ers.
What about the Rams? Are you afraid of the Rams?
Not
the Rams.
Not if the game is here. Yeah, if it's out there, yeah, that would be. That's another one too. They're getting they're definitely playing a bunch of young guys though, so they're not tournament tested. But I'm looking at this, and sure the Eagles beat the lowly, the 7th or 8th seed, whoever they play, they'll beat them with no problem. But I don't like the way they match up with these other teams. And you ask me, Nick Sirianni's got a right to be, cross, and snarling on that sideline and yelling at people.
Is he too emotional? Is he too emotional, Bob? Because why is he yelling at Hassan Reddick? He's the only guy giving him anything on defense. Why the hell are you yelling at Hassan Reddick?
Well, I will find out, right? We'll ask Hassan, and Hassan will say, I don't want to talk about that right now. You can ask me something else, but no, we'll find out eventually. I think he wanted him just to go back into the game, and Devontae Smith is He's the new Dom, big Dom on the sideline. You know,
Yeah, he's trying to make peace, Devontae.
What's going on there? Little guy. No, I mean, their whole. I mean that drama on the sideline, and Nick brought this on himself. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, his antics.
Yeah, it happens too often. Now, he said he's got to tone it down, but he's done this in the past. You know, in the same press conference, by the way, where he said he's got to tone it down. He said the key with everybody makes mistakes, but the key is you can't make them again. Well, how many times has he made the same mistake? I mean, yeah, you either do it or you don't do it, and maybe he's not capable of doing it.
Yeah, well, but they, you know, all that said, I mean that they still have an offense that can be really potent, and that offensive line is in gear. They've had some struggles too, and there is a blueprint out there to attack the Eagles, and the more I watch that Giants game, I really like the way Wink Martindale attacked them. I mean that was a brilliant game plan, and that caused some of those mistakes, you know. So people are going to see that there's a variety of ways to do it. Now this week with Arizona, they don't have any players at all, so I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. And even though Gannon knows them intimately, and you know which way Hurts wants to step or do this, it's not going to make a difference. I don't think. I don't expect this game to be close for more than a quarter.
Ooh, okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Good news.
Like Kyler Murray, though, I do like. I mean, but he just does. You mentioned the tight end. He's got no other weapons, really. I mean, because that other guy, who's the guy they got from Baltimore, the slot
Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Marquise Brown. He's fast.
He's just really disappointing, though. And
you know who's disappointing? Their other guy, sort of like Rondell Moore. I thought he was going to be a problem, and he really hasn't been. He's very quick. They do have some speed. Patricia mentioned that yesterday with Brown and Moore, and obviously Kyler. They are fast, but
yeah, the problem is they got 3 slot receivers, and you can only play one guy in the slot. You got to have somebody outside who can get something done.
For many points at all.
All right, let me run this by you, Bob, since it sounds like you're in agreement with John McMullen. John rightfully points out the Eagles' 3 opponents, last 3 that Sean Desai had a game plan against were Buffalo, San Francisco, and Dallas. The 3 opponents Matt Patricia's got to face have been Seattle, the Giants, and the Cardinals. Kind of easier sledding for Matt Patricia. So do you put as much heavy emphasis on the opponent when evaluating whether Matt Patricia has improved this defense or not?
I can't say that he's improved it. And you're right. It's basically because of the competition. And but we've just hit a really strange kind of warp in this whole Eagles season. I've covered the team since 92, right after Jerome Brown passed away in that tragic automobile crash. And they've never changed the coordinator this late in the season and gotten anywhere, or, they've never even done that.
And they were 10-3, 10-3.
We're in the like the twilight zone here. I don't know if the young guys remember what that was, but I'm just waiting for Rod Serling to come out from behind the curtain and tell me that the season is not over, but it will be in 5 minutes for the Eagles. Like that. I mean, this is bizarro world or whatever. This is it doesn't get any.
And by the way, evidently Nick Sirianni started to muse about changing the defensive play caller when they were 8-1. When they were 8-1. So that's ironic to me because JG is coming back. It's JG week. And I think the Eagles were 8-1 when a certain radio host that Jody Mack is familiar with recommended he be fired. And JG kind of completed that with reporters saying it, which we certainly didn't say it.
Yeah.
But
well, it was definitely JG who suggested it to
oh, Nick. Yeah, he said it. Yeah, he said it. And he's right. a certain someone called for him to be fired when he was 8-1.
Yeah.
The Eagles started thinking about it with Sean Desai when they were 8-1. So maybe it isn't so crazy.
He saved Nick Sirianni by telling him to give up the play calling. I mean, let's be honest about that. It's all going to come back to us this week.
Of all the things that people think the Eagles are, and Bob, you were there yesterday. Slay spoke glowingly about him. Reed Blankenship, BG. I didn't talk to Fletch. I assume Fletch did. All the defensive guys love Gannon. Nick loves Gannon. But the one thing they were kind of PO'd about was that he kind of took credit for Nick Sirianni's step back from play calling. They didn't like that. All the other stuff, manufactured kind of nonsense. Really is. Turn the page. And by the way, they wouldn't like Vic Fangio's defense. I say that all the time. If the timing worked out, they wouldn't like Vic Fangio's defense.
That could be. And I heard an interesting little ditty from recently from Schefter, and he said that Gannon he kept the Eagles hanging so long that Fangio.
Fonzie. Call him Fonzie.
He had to make a decision on what he was going to. He said that Schefter said that Fangio wanted to was highly considering the Eagles as his next employer.
Eagles wanted, but here's the thing, and he had been Adam, and I'll say it to everybody, and nobody questions Adam. He accepted the Dolphins job on January 29th. Anybody could look it up if they want to look it up. Tom Pelissero was the first to report it. He agreed to terms with the Dolphins on January 29th. That date is key for this reason. That was the date of the NFC Championship game. Gannon had no idea he was leaving. In fact, he told John Clark he was coming back because he got turned down by Houston. The call from Monty Ossenfort came in the days after the NFC Championship game. The timing didn't work out.
Was that on one of those burner phones that the Cardinals were using?
It could have been. Monty self-reported it. When
stuff comes up, I don't believe any of those dates and stuff. I mean, I do believe the date that Fangio agreed to terms, but you could get out of that. I mean, that's not.
Well, the Eagles tried. The Eagles tried to get him
third-day draft pick or something. But I think that the
Eagles tried. And by the way, if the Eagles got Vic Fangio, and by the way, Vic would not do that. And I said it at the time. Vic was not going to, he agreed, and he wasn't going to Josh McDaniels, the Miami Dolphins, who by the way, gave him the largest coordinator contract in NFL history on top of it. He wasn't. The Eagles tried. Tim McManus did a great job this week. The Eagles tried to change his mind during the lead up to the Super Bowl. He wasn't going to change his mind. He's not Josh McDaniels. He values his reputation, and he agreed to terms with Miami, and he lived up to what he agreed to. People got to turn the page, man. Bob, they got to turn the page.
I can't turn the page on Gannon, but I see him walk. Jonathan Gannon owes Jalen Hurts an MVP in the Super Bowl. He owes the Eagles a Super Bowl. He had 1 foot out the door and he knew it,
Yeah.
But, by the way, I'll put in a bid if it ever comes to auction on one of those burner phones, if it happened to be.
By the way, Slay,
you'd be able to retrieve the data. I'm sure of that. Mr. Electronics himself, Bob Grotz, you'd be able to figure it out. Yeah, that's happening. All right. Now, I want to turn back the clock to your younger days, as you mentioned, when you got onto the beat. As a matter of fact, did you watch the 30 for 30 on Reggie White on ESPN?
Yeah.
That was tremendous. And I, like you, started in Philadelphia in 1990. So we're on this.
In that movie. Oh, my God.
Okay.
In that little documentary, too much WIP. And something else, Jody.
Too much WIP.
Big of a deal of his I think that that whole thing where his religious beliefs and him, not well. What did he say? He was especially at the beginning of his career with his faith. He was anti what same sex
Yeah,
union. And
homosexuality. Yeah.
I think they spent way too much time on that. They didn't do that to other people. I mean, I can understand putting it out there, but they made it like 3 chapters. I was not real pleased with that.
Reggie was pretty outspoken about it. No, and Miss busting my chops for WIP. There was only one host out who was on the air when Jerome Brown passed, and that was yours truly.
Is that
and
right?
It's one of the toughest shows I've ever had to do. At the time, I'd been only doing them for a second. Now I've been doing them 30 years. So this is 30 years later, and still to this day, I say that was one of the hardest shows I ever had to do. But no, I want to move away from Jerome Brown. Will a right be wrong this year? Is Eric Allen finally going to get into the Hall of Fame? Yesterday, he became a finalist for the first time. He'd been a semifinalist at least the last 5 years, maybe 6 or 7, but he had never broken through to make the final 15. He's a finalist this year. The two guys that I've been making an argument for 20 plus years to make the Hall of Fame have been Joe Colecco, got in last year, and Eric Allen. Deserves to be a Hall of Famer, unquestioned Hall of Famer in my mind. Is he in yours, Bob Grotz?
Yeah, I think he does get in. I keep getting all these surveys from Hall of Fame voters and stuff like that, or organizations, and he's always one of the top 2 or 3 names. Which of these guys is more deserving, or do you feel is more deserving? So, I mean, that to me, that's a little bit of an indicator. I've gotten those for years, but a lot of Eric Allen. I think this is the year for him. And another guy too, Jody, that I'm going to plug this guy. It's a local guy, Billy White Shoes Johnson. He definitely is deserving. I mean, the kick returners, the punt returners, and that they've just been disrespected. And
they don't get in. Maybe Devin Hester breaks through. He might be the guy.
And even the punters too. I mean, now they've kind of now punting is they've almost outlawed special teams to kick off and the punts are more limited. But punters too, and a perfect candidate for Hall of Fame punter, in my opinion, would be Sean Landeta. Kicked for like 30 years, punted for
Sean.
35 what was it? 35 miles. Yeah, we were looking at this. And did a great job. 2 Super Bowl rings, Jody. You remember with the Giants.
Oh, Landeta's a bud.
Yeah.
I hope he gets that kind of accreditation. I fear it's never happening.
Yeah, but yes on yes on Eric Allen. Yes.
By the way, Bob's first year, 92. 1991. I was just doing this yesterday because I had to write about the JG nonsense. 1991 was the Eagles' last #1 defense statistically under Bud Carson. 1991. It's been that long. 2022 was the first time since 1991 they were at least #2 in the NFL. Over 30 years. I don't think people realize that, but they're living it.
They gave up.
And oh, by the way, you're right. Buddy's defense never #1.
No.
Bud Carson's the year after Buddy got his walking papers.
Yeah.
Actually, the last time they were #1.
I'll look it up in the break, but the Buddy Ryan, there's a lot of revisionist history there. A lot of revisionist history. And people remember it for whatever reason. Their memories have failed them, to be honest.
All right. So Bob Grotz, you believe that the Eagles will put this game in the bank by the end of the first quarter. You said that earlier on the show.
Yeah.
To what extent, and how did the last 3 quarters play out? Because right, wrong, or indifferent, the Giants did throw the ball into the end zone on the last play of the game and could have gotten a 2-point conversion and tied it and forced overtime. There's certain guys here on the stream that get on my case because I point out that happened last year. The Giants got an onside kick. If they've been able to recover that in the game at home, they could have challenged the Eagles. They only lost by 5 points. So when is it a game? When isn't it a game? Give us the Bob Grotz breakdown on how the fourth quarter plays in this game. Will the Eagles be up by 3 touchdowns and putting the Heisman out for the Cardinals and keeping them at length? Will the Cardinals rally and come back and make it a game? How's the fourth quarter play?
The fourth quarter plays out like this. Every time the Eagles throw the ball, they'll have a double-digit lead. Every time they throw the ball, the crowd's going to chant, run, run, run. That's going to be it. You know? And if Gainwell or DeAndre Swift gets the ball and runs, they're going to go nuts. So I think that's what Eagles fans want right now, and they're going to be comfortably ahead. They're going to get it. You know, they're going to.
If they're ahead, they're going to have a great run-pass ratio. People will love it.
And JG, his deal. I'm not completely 100% in this, but his deal did seem to align with Nick Sirianni's, and that was keep everything in front of you. And so that's going to mean a lot of first downs for the Eagles, and not much time for Kyler Murray to get into rhythm. So, and you may even see a few turnovers too. And that's another area where the Eagles, the defense, especially to me, the back end, they've just been brutal. You know, no turnovers. I mean, or no takeaways. And you know, that's a terrible formula to. I mean, that gets in your head after a while. You go into the playoffs and know that you can't get takeaways. I mean, that's a lot of stress on Jalen Hurts and the offense. So, you know, maybe they can get a few of those too. There should be opportunities.
Just remember, you heard it here first. James Bradbury with a big INT this week.
Ooh, but Bob's guy, James Bradbury.
But he's gotten a bad rap because, I mean,
now you're going down. He's getting a bad rap. You killed him forever. You're coming to his defense now.
I never said he was the worst cornerback in the world. And
pretty close. You were pretty close to it, Bob.
It kind of I mean, that pass defense. You know, Sean Desai and now Patricia. I guess Patricia. You know, you look at last week and you say, was there modest improvement? Yeah, for maybe the first half, but that second half, I saw guys wide open again. You know, and there were a couple of good throws. Tyrod Taylor made a great throw to Slayton, but and who was it? Blankenship. Yeah, I mean, boy, he really misplayed that thing.
I misread that.
Yeah,
that was not good.
I never remember.
You know, Bob, the person they miss the most is CJ. That is the guy they miss the most. Man, that guy just made plays. He just made plays.
He had an attitude, and it was contagious. So yeah, they should have paid him.
In case you're wondering why we have Bob Grotz on, now you know, because you never know what he's going to say. He actually defended James Bradbury.
Well, he should.
Bradbury's getting knocked me over with a feather that Bob Grotz was going to come to the defense of James Bradbury.
I hope Jeff Kerr isn't listening right now. He'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a stat to refute what you say.
Right.
Bob Grotz, Delco Times. Make sure you read Bob. Does a tremendous job since 1992.
Right.
That's impressive.
I got to get headed. I'm going to Las Vegas now. I'm going to start driving out there.
By the way, you got a new profile picture. When did you put that up? You look like a model in that picture. That's the best picture you've ever taken. Your profile picture.
I didn't know about that. Yeah. Well, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
BG, thanks. Go back inside.
All right.
You're officially live. I know you've been in the car for a week, so go get something to eat. Go inside and get something to eat.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure.
Bob Grotz for the Delco Times here with us on Birds 365. He defended Bradbury.
Yeah, how about that?
I can't believe that. And I'm the biggest. Well, maybe we're living in bizarro world because I'm the biggest Bradbury fan. I started the push to get him here when he was still on the Giants, while he's still under contract. Because I had sources in New York telling me they're going to release Bradbury. Bradbury's the guy. They got to clean up their cap, and it's going to be Bradbury. So I went on the airwaves in Philadelphia and said, this guy's going to shake loose. He's a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. And damn if it didn't work out.
By the way, Jody, for the Buddy Truthers we were talking about, 86 to 90, so we're talking 5 seasons. One top 10 defense. Here they are, 17th, 23rd, 27, number 8, number 12 started to turn around. Then Bud got here number 1 in 1991, number 6, and then the fall off. But yeah, the Buddy built the foundation, but guess what? They weren't that good. And people think they were.
Yeah.
Then they took off with Bud Carson.
He is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We got to come back and put a bow on this show. Are we gonna make picks? We're not on tomorrow.
Yeah, we got to.
I'm
Here's my pick. Eagles win the game. That's my pick.
I was gonna say I'm ready to declare the Eagles a W, but I don't know exactly if I'm ready to. And I asked Grotz to do it. Tell me how the fourth quarter's gonna go. I'm not ready to quite ready to give a score, but we'll come back and we'll give you our thoughts on the Eagles and the Cardinals next here on Birds 365.